this Thursday, we are going to start warming up our skip counting brains by practicing skip counting by tens. So just like we did yesterday, if you would like to use your hundreds chart to help you skip count, you may go ahead and take this out to use. Or if you want to challenge yourself and just use your big brain, you of course may go ahead. So what is our first task today? So we are going to skip count from 120 to 190. So this is a 3-digit number that we are going to skip count. How many tens are in 120? 2 tens. And how many tens are in 190? 9 tens. So if we want to go from 2 tens to 9 tens, are we going to skip count up or skip count down? Going to give a 10, take a 10. We're going to add a 10 every time. We're going to skip count up, a 10 each time. So if you have your hundreds chart, you can just start at 20. Start at 20, but remember, we're still counting 3-digit numbers. So can everyone say 120? 120. Here we go. 130. 140. 150. 160. 170. 180. 190. Da-da-da. We can pause right there. We have reached our destination. Good job. Okay, what about this challenge? Da-da-da. We're going to count from 76 to 36. So how many tens are we starting with? How many tens are in 76? There are 7 tens. And how many tens are in 36? There are 3 tens. So if we're starting with 7 tens and we want to get to 3 tens, are we going to count down? We're going to count up. We're going to take away a 10. We're going to add a 10. That's our game plan. We're going to count down. We're going to take a 10 away every time we skip count. So if you have your hundreds chart, you're going to start at 76. 76. Okay, super scholars, can everyone say 76? Here we go. 66, 56, 46, 36. Good job. We can stop at 36 with 3 tens. That was a quick one. And every time we were counting, our tens place was getting smaller, but we still had 6 ones every time. Okay, good job warming up your brain. Let's take a look at our learning target for today. It says, I can solve word problems using my skip counting knowledge. So today is one of my favorite days because it's a word problem day where we get to apply our math skills to real life situations and tackle awesome puzzles that we have to solve. And today we are going to be practicing solving word problems using our skip counting knowledge. So we're going to practice different strategies, different ways we can solve word problems, all using skip counting knowledge and therefore our place value knowledge. So everyone needs a nice whiteboard out or a piece of paper with a sharp pencil or a nice new marker. So everyone's going to have a surface so you can practice solving these word problems different ways. So, are you ready for our first puzzle? Here we go. Da-da-da. I will read it to us twice through. It says, Emily and her grandpa have sold 60 cookies at the bake sale. If they baked 100 cookies, how many more cookies do they need to sell? Okay, I'm going to read it one more time. Emily and her grandpa have sold 60 cookies at the bake sale. to solve. So in this word problem and all the others we're going to look at today, there are clue words that clue us into whether we add or subtract. But since we're using skip counting knowledge, we're using a different process than adding or subtracting. So those clue words won't tell us exactly how to skip count. Instead, we have to really look at the situation the problem is getting us to figure out our game plan to skip count. So in this problem, how many cookies have been sold already? How many cookies have been sold? 60 cookies have been sold. So can you write 60 on one side of your whiteboard? 60. We have sold 60 cookies. But how many cookies are Emily and her grandpa trying to sell? They've baked a certain number of cookies and they want to sell them all. How many cookies is that? That's 100 cookies. They baked 100 cookies and they want to sell them all. So can you write 100 on the other side of your whiteboard? So we have 60 cookies that have already been sold, and we have 100 cookies that need to be sold. So our question is asking, how many more cookies do they need to sell? So we want to figure out, what do we need to get from 60 to 100? What is in between these two numbers? And one way we can figure that out is by skip counting. So if we're trying to figure out how much is in between, how many tens do we have right now? 6 tens. And how many tens are in 100? How many tens are in 100? There's 10 tens. So if we're trying to get from 6 tens to 10 tens, what way are we going to skip count? We're going to skip count up. We're going to add a 10 every time. So I want you to write out with me as we skip count from 60 to 100. So can everyone say 60? And then 70. Keep going. 80 and 90. Good job. All we were doing is adding a 10 each time. So we successfully figured out how to get from 60 to 100. But how much did we skip count up? How many more cookies did we count? In order to figure that out, we have to see how many tens did we count? How many times did we skip count up? How many tens did we count? So, can you start with your pencil on 60? And we're going to count how many tens did we count. Here we go. 1 10, 2 tens, 3 tens, 4 tens. Da-da-da. How many tens did we skip count? We skip counted 4 tens. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 4 tens is what number? It is 40. Da-da. We have 40. That is how much we skip counted up. So if Emily and her grandpa sold 60 cookies, but they baked 100, how many cookies do they have left to sell? They have 40 cookies left to sell. Da-da-da. And we solved that by using our skip counting knowledge. We figured out how many tens were between 60 and 100 by skip counting up and seeing how many times we added 1 10. It was 4 times. Okay, Super Scholars, this is just one way we can solve this word problem. That's what I think is so cool about math. There's a ton of ways to get to the same answer. All of us are working on solving with skip counting, and place value knowledge. But there's even multiple ways to do that. So I want us to reset our whiteboard, and we're going to check out another way. But before we do that, I want you to stand up, 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 so we can move our bodies in math. So quickly push in that chair, stand up nice and straight. And my question for you is, would you rather ride in a flying car, or would you rather ride a unicorn? You have the pick. Ride in a flying car, touch the ceiling. Ride on a unicorn, you're going to touch the floor. What are you going to pick? I would choose a flying car because I feel like I'd fall off a unicorn. So I'm going to touch the ceiling 5 times. Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Awesome. I got a little stretch in. So come on, sit right back down as we tackle our next challenge. Okay, Super Scholars, another way we can practice solving these problems is by using some of our place value knowledge. So let's think about it. We still have to figure out how we're going to get from 60 cookies sold to 100 cookies sold. So first, let's think about it. How many tens are in 60? How many tens are in 60? There are 6 tens. Exactly. And how many tens are in 100? How many tens are in 100? There are 10 tens in 100. So, Super Scholars, if we have 6 tens at the moment, we have 60 cookies, but we want to sell more to eventually get 10 tens, 100 cookies. What is missing? We have 6 tens. How many more do we need to get 10 tens? What is 6 pairs to 10? It is 4 tens. And 4 tens is what number? It is 40. The same answer that Emily and her grandpa need to sell 40 more cookies to reach 100 cookies sold. So here's another awesome way you can bring in that awesome place value knowledge to help you solve a fantastic word problem. So first we used skip counting from 60 to 100 and figured out how many times we counted up. And then we used our knowledge of tens to figure out what was missing until we could get 10 tens. So awesome, people. I hope you're getting some cool ideas about how to think about math and solve these word problem puzzles. So we're going to do a brand new one. So I want everybody to reset and let's check out our next challenge. So let's see what this says. I'm going to read it twice. Anthony made 15 bundles of 10 straws. How many straws does he have in all? Okay, I'm going to read it again. Anthony made 15 bundles of 10 straws. How many straws does he have in all? Okay. How can we tackle this problem? Are there any ideas? So how many bundles does Anthony have? How many groups does Anthony have? There are 15 bundles. So there's 15 bundles. How many straws are in each of those bundles? How many straws are in each bundle? There are 10 straws in each bundle. So right now, Anthony, he's got 15 bundles, and in each one of those 15 bundles, there's an entire 10. So if we want to figure out how much is 10 15 times, what do you think we could do? We can skip count, of course. We can skip count by tens. How many times would we skip count by tens? How many bundles do we have? We have 15 bundles. So we would skip count by 10 15 times to figure out how many straws are in 15 bundles of 10. And that's a lot of times to skip count and try to keep track in our head and on our fingers. So how we are going to solve this problem is by drawing out our values. We are going to practice drawing our tens to keep track of 15 times we count up. So what I would love you to do is draw a little 10 with a circle right around it. This represents 1 10. And we are going to draw 15 tens and find out how many straws Anthony has. So every time we count up a 10, we're going to draw another 10. And once we have 15 tens, we'll stop skip counting because we will have reached our answer. Because we will have counted by 10 15 times. So, can we all start with just 1 10 on our board? So can we all say 10? Keep going. 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, I have 5 10s. I'm going to start a new row so it's easier to keep track. So we have 50 and then 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Look, I have 10 tens, and that equals 100. But I only got 10. We need to count 15 tens. So we got to keep going. So we were at 100, and then the next 10 would be 100. 10, and then 100, 20, 100, 30, 100, 40, and 150. We're going to stop here because we counted 15 tens. 5, 10, 15. So what number did we just stop at? 100? 150. When we counted 10 15 times, we got to 150. That is how many straws Anthony has, because he has 15 bundles of 10, and with our skip counting knowledge, we just determined that that is 150 straws. We want to make sure we quantify exactly what that 150 is. Okay, awesome people. This is another way we can practice using our skip counting knowledge to solve. By drawing a picture and practicing skip counting up or down by 10 each time. So now what is going to be your challenge is I'm going to give you another real life puzzle, and I want you to use that skip counting to try and solve it. So let's take a look. So here is your independent challenge, 2nd grade. I'm going to read it for us twice through. Here we go. Gabrielle wants to bike 200 miles. She has biked 130 miles so far. How many more miles does she need to bike? I'm going to read it one more time. Gabrielle wants to bike 200 miles. She has biked 130 miles so far. How many more miles does she need to bike? Okay, so let's think about this problem real quick together. So, how many miles has Gabrielle biked so far? She's biked how many miles at this point? She's biked 130 miles at this point. That is where she is starting at the moment, at 130. That's what she has accomplished. What's her goal? How many miles does she want to bike? She wants to bike 200 miles. That is her goal, to reach 200 miles biked. So, if Gabrielle has 130 miles right now, but she wants to get to 200 miles, how many more miles does she need to bike? So that's where we're going to leave you, Super Scholars. Think about how are you going to get from 130 to 200. And remember, you only want to count how many times you add a 10. Just count how many times you're going up. And that will help you find how many more miles Gabrielle has left to bike. So Super Scholars, I want you to work this out on your own by practicing your skip counting skills. When you are done and you've double checked your work, you're going to take a video of yourself explaining how you solved the problem and why you know that is the correct answer. I want you to take me through all your steps, how you used your skip counting to solve this problem, how you skip counted, and how you were able to determine how many times you added 110. This is just like our cookie bake sale problem that we solved first. So Super Scholars, let's go figure out how many more miles we need to bike.